Hello there, good evening. You're welcome to Ghana Tonight. I'm Kemini Amanor. Our top stories. Tonight, ECG has big news for us all, including raking in nearly 2 billion cedis in revenue for the month of July alone. Is this a sign of recovery or a little too soon to conclude? We'll find out. Also coming up, your food may be killing you slowly as another study reveals presence of heavy metals in our everyday foods and cosmetics. Plus tonight, Ghana's foreign minister makes bold statements on nuclear weapons in New York. But in the last few minutes, we've also heard that the U.S. government has lifted visa restrictions on the Ghanaian people. I'll tell you more about that in a tad. Oh, and that tad is now. I'm Kemini Amanor, and this is Ghana Tonight. If you'd like to be a part of the program as you watch us on TV3 or listen to us on 392.7 FM, maybe even on Facebook.com, X.com, 3news.com, or YouTube. Be a part of the program with your thoughts and comments using the hashtag Ghana Tonight. Let's bring you the nice biggest stories in Ghana Brief.
A team of officials from the World Health Organization and the Ghana Health Service have been dispatched to the Mpox disease hotspot areas to firm up interventions in curtailing the surge in cases. The Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Asiedu Bekwe, in an exclusive interview with TV3, outlined the positives and negatives of the disease management so far. He entreated all to report any illness to the nearest hospital as the total case count reaches 583 with 2 deaths.
If you look at the data now, what is happening is that there are some positives and some negatives. So there are some districts that used to have relatively high number of cases, but it's gone down. And there are some districts that have come up. So like a place like Takwa, cases has come down, while a place like Dunkwa has gotten more cases. I think the challenge now is the new cases in Dunkwa, which the region.
Ghana has led a major Interpol cybercrime operation, making 68 arrests, the highest among 14 African countries in Operation Contender 3.0. Police seized over 800 devices, identified 108 victims, and uncovered nearly $450,000 in losses and recovering $70,000. The suspects are accused of romance scams and sextortion schemes. Across Africa, the operation recorded 260 arrests, seized 1,200 devices, and dismantled 81 cybercrime networks linked to global losses of $2.8 million. Interpol says Ghana's success highlights the value of international cooperation, with investigations still ongoing. Financial expert and CEO of Dalex Finance, Joe Jackson, has raised alarm over Ghana's unemployment situation, describing it as a generational time bomb. Financial expert Joe Jackson warns against government trying to create jobs for all these people directly.
Those who have left JSS who want a job, 1/3 of them can't get a job. Those who have left SSS that want a job, 1/3 of them can't get a job. Those who have left university and want a job, 1/3 of them can't get jobs. That's a whole generation that are not getting jobs when they need and when they want to and when their energies are high. Are we then surprised that crime seems to be exploding and younger kids are looking for quick money?
The Volta River Authority has warned of growing threats of encroachment on its pipeline within the Tema metropolis. The Managing Director, Engineer Edward Eko Oben Kenzo, warned that if the situation is allowed to continue, it could lead to a major disaster, potentially costing the country over 2 billion Ghana cedis.
It's a national security issue. When the Tema military station was being developed, those areas were bare. So a buffer was created for the pipeline, just like the transmission line. You have a right of way. And this right of way has been encroached by people. If you look at the investment in Tema, if you take a combined cycle of power plant of 1 million per 1 megawatt, 300 megawatts is about 300 million. As so it's around 540 megawatts.
Convener of the Affirmative Action Bill Coalition, Sheila Menka-Premo, has called for urgent focus in the implementation of the Affirmative Action Act in order to achieve its targets by 2026. In an interview, Sheila Menka-Premo said, even though some progress has been made, it has been slow, particularly at the executive and legislative levels, and more action is needed to make the act work.
A lot of work still needs to be done. We are still monitoring. Parliament too hasn't really met it. In terms of the parliamentary service itself, it's still headed by a man. The judiciary should be commended. It's almost even at 50%. So they've done well. So I believe that if they have done it, other arms of government can also achieve it. For the private sector, some monitoring needs to be done. Some of the corporations that state has a share in it, a few of them have women as CEOs.
Well, Ghana Brief, therefore, if you just joined us, it's Ghana Tonight live on TV3 and on 392.7 FM. I'm Kemini Amanor, and you are just in time for our big stories tonight. Coming up, ECG's big news to Parliament. Let's get into that right now. Tonight's ECG is spinning big on the Wheel of Fortune. The power retailer says it has raked in its largest revenue so far. Nearly 2 billion cedis accrued in July this year alone. Now, this is good news, albeit ECG isn't here to tell us all about it. I have just had no success at all bringing you an interview with them tonight on how they were able to achieve this figure. So I thought to myself, how about we do the numbers to support the fact, or maybe decry the fact? And we've been doing some digging with the past year alone. So let's look at some year-on-year figures, right? For July of 2024 and July of 2025. Let's take a look at those figures now, because I want to show you and put this into perspective. The ECG says that they've made some 1.7 billion cedis for July. But how does it compare to previous years? Is it really the case? Now, when you look at the table on your screen at the moment, it's ECG monthly revenue collection analysis of 2024. Again, 2024, because we do not have figures from January 2025 to June 2025. We only have up to, we only know that ECG has announced for July 2025. So there you have it. On the screen, you see that January of last year, it was 1.2, 1.3, within that region all through till July. So let's compare year on year, right? July of 2024, it was 1.3 billion cedis of revenue, validated collections. That's revenue collection. For 2025 then, I'll end here because that's the most important part I want you to take note of. For this year, they say they have increased that figure by over 400 million cedis. And so we are seeing them accrue some 1.7 billion cedis in revenue, the largest they have seen in a while. And obviously coming as very good news in Parliament for the Energy Committee. And we'll hear in the TAD also from the chairman of the Energy committee. All right, let's stay on the ECG's good news. It announced in before the committee today, because in other good news tonight, ECG's managing director, engineer Julius Pekpena, also revealed, you remember those 1,000 containers that went missing? They have all been found now, and well, almost, because there are still some 30 plus out there. But the 1,000 containers have been tracked, they have been found, and here's Engineer Pekpena on that.
We have started moving our containers from the port. So far, we've moved over 1,000 containers. Again, when we met in May, the news was that we couldn't trace a lot of our containers. I'm happy to say that we have traced all our containers and we started moving them from the port.
For a lot of us, the question now will be whether or not it's all sunshine and roses. Well, the power retailer will have us believe so. But we also know that in the PwC report of February 2025, they had concern to believe that ECG was still leaking. Now, this is progress, but it would appear there's more to be done. Let's put it all together for Emmanuel Bejara, who is Ho West MP and chairman of the Energy Committee. He received ECG's report today. He will tell us what he thinks of their engagements. Honorable, good evening to you and thank you so much for joining us. Let's talk about the purpose of the meetings. What really is this meeting with ECG achieved, really? What was it about?
It wasn't only ECG that we met. We started our rounds. As you know, the Energy Committee has jurisdiction over all the power sectors. That's agencies under the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, as well as the petroleum sector, all the agencies under the petroleum and sector under the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. So we started yesterday with GridCo, that is the main transmitters of power. And then we moved to the regulators. First, we went to Energy Commission. From Energy Commission, we also visited PURC, that gives us our tariff. And then today we decided to meet with VCG and then VRA. So we had meeting with VCG and VRA as well. Now, the purpose of our meeting, these players in the power sector industry, is to understand what really they are doing and what they have, problems that they have, and if there is any support that the committee can give them, and also the challenges that they have. And then if there's any suggestion for legislative reforms, or if there's any amendment that's needed to be carried out on the floor of the House, we will also support them in that direction. And then also we will also bring to bear, as you all know, the challenges of the power sector to them, to understand that consumers that we represent have issues with some of the things that they do. And so our main purpose is to go around this agencies, department, to understand their operations and also follow through with them before the budget is presented for our consideration in the next parliament.
Now, let's look at the ECG's engagement today. They came in with some big news like the revenue they accrued in July. How did that come to you?
All elated. We pat them at the back, knowing very well that ECG is doing well, especially under the current management. The first news was the fact that the containers that we all heard that were missing at the harbor has been found. They have retrieved, so far they've retrieved part of them, some of them, about 1,000 of them out of the 2,000. And they have found the rest and waiting for them to be retrieved. The only, I think about 33 or 35 has not been found yet. But even that, they are still working with the port authorities to find them. That was the first good news. The second good news has to do with the fact that so far they have collected about 1.7 billion Ghana cedis. In July, that has been the highest revenue collection so far for ECG. And that is good news. It's a good news because if you look at the turnover of ECG and the collection, the revenue that they collect from consumers, clearly it shows that ECG are not doing their best at all. They're not doing well in terms of revenue collection, all because of the leakages that we all know and we've all been drumming about. And so if they have been able to raise their marking scheme by collecting such high revenue, we need to pat them at the back and ask them to continue to sustain that gain by collecting those revenue, not only one term in July, but they should continue till the end of the year and thereafter. Then also, we all know that before the current administration took over, there's been lingering issue of power outages. That's doing so. But from the narrative that we heard today, they have been able to substantially curtail any issue that will come along with the doomsor or power outages. So clearly ECG is doing very well. Now the bad news has to do with the proposal that they've given to PURC. It is a proposal of 225 percentage increase in their tariff. That we sought to understand what they meant by the 225% increase. And it turned out to be that the entire tariff that we know, they are only seeking 26% increment, which is the multi-year review, which has to do with every 3 years, they look at their investment, their debt portfolio, and then any new technology that they've applied to make sure that they're able to meet their, at least their expenditure and be able to sustain the business of ECG. And so we were wondering why they were mentioning 225% increment. And that came out clearly to say that ECG charges just about 11% of the total charges, the total revenue that they collect. And that they are looking at moving it from the amount they were charging, that's 9 cents, to about 16 cents, which will make it about 225%.
Right.
And so we said, no, this is a miscommunication to the country. You are talking about 225% increment. Now Ghanaians will think, or all of us, that is why I stood up to say that we are not going to approve any 225% increment on tariff. If they were to tell us that it is 26% that they are looking for, then we will all now sit down to find out whether they merit that 26%. And so this is a proposal they brought to PRC. We met PRC yesterday, and that proposal, they are going around doing what we call a stakeholders consultation. We've asked them to meet us, ECG, Minister of Energy, PRC, Energy Commission, as well as all the power producers, to tell us exactly where there is a missing link. Is it the ECG that is not collecting the revenue, that's not collecting the, what did they sell? Or there are losses along the line. Because if VRA produces about, let's say, 3,000 megawatts of power and sell to you ECG through the grid line, ECG, you are supposed to collect that money and pay for the power and the distribution and the transmission. Now, if you are not able to collect it, it is not the business of VRA or the power producers. Neither is it the business of the transmitter. It is your business to make sure that you collect it. So we want to see where the missing link is.
Right. So, Honorable, do I hear you say then that the 26% multi-year increase is more reasonable?
We have not come to that yet. This is just a proposal from ECG. PRC has not even agreed to that multi-year proposal or the percentage yet. We are yet to meet with them for them to explain to us, to know exactly how much they'll go for. Mind you, this proposal is a proposal from ECG. They want to make sure that at least they are meeting their cost of sales or cost that they sell their product to the market. They want to meet, at least there should be a minimum cost, meeting of the cost, and so that there will not be any losses to them. That is what they are requesting for. But somebody needs to explain to the committee whether it is justifiable or not justifiable. So we are waiting for them to bring it to us.
So let's look at the bigger picture, right? Will you then say ECG is on the path to recovery based off of this, your engagement with them, the good news of revenue?
Well, it's too early now to say that. For me, the most important thing is for the MD to tell the committee today, that they are able to some of the procurement or some of the issues that they put online before he came, he has abrogated those contracts. Over 300 contracts of procurement, which we all know are in label with some frauds or some things that are not really clear as to whether it's a proper procurement or not. And they have terminated those contracts, 200 out of them, and they are looking into the rest before. And he also clearly told us that ECG has decided not to go into any procurement without a proper authorization from the ministry. And so clearly, yes, they are on the path of recovery, but it's too early now. We want to see more, especially when it comes to the collection of the tariff or collection of their sales. We made it clear that in some of our constituencies, in some of our places, people have meters that are not connected to ECG. You see, you go to their homes, there are meters there, and they are not connected to ECG.
And then the not so good news is when ECG says they are concerned and in fact worried about the interference of politicians, especially MPs, DCEs and MCEs in their operations. I want us to take a listen to the MD, Engineer Julius Kpekpena, when he made that pronouncement earlier today.
Within 5 months, we have tightened our belt, we have improved financial discipline, we've restored operational stability, we restored reliability in our power supply, we put measures to curb excesses in procurement, and we're working with the support of the board, the ministry and the presidency to deliver sustainable power to the people of Ghana. Have signed an amendment to the contract, and we have reduced the commission that we were paying to HAPTEL from 3% to 1.65%. We have worked to put in place measures to control expenditure, and so if we take the first half year, we have reduced expenditure from 110 million from last year to 77 million. Okay. And administrative expenses have been reduced 279 million last year to this year only 169 million. And we are working to tighten the belt even more.
Very well. Honorable, were you shocked to hear that some of your colleagues were interfering with the work of ECG?
We're not shocked at all. In fact, we brought the issue out when we went to Energy Commission yesterday. This issue came up, and the PRC also brought it that there are some meters called SHEP meters. SHEP clearly means self-help electrification program or project, where all of us go right to the ministry for meters. And when you write to the ministry for meters and for support of extension to some of your communities, when those meters are granted, you need a qualified ECG contractors to go to ECG office to map out and give you what we call the various numbers. And those numbers will be key into ECG's system. Now, if you don't do it, and I heard, especially these things occur during election year, and 2024 had similar issues. So you go to places in some regions, as we had the complaint, in Ashanti region and some strong, consensus of some people, they have they have released meters into the system, meters that are not accounted for from the system. And so they just fix the meters. I call them political meters. Fix them, and nobody, goes there to collect collect any rate. And so we were told today that one of the communities in the southern part of Rota region, they have started retrieving those meters and started collecting them back. But the residents want to go on demonstration against ECG. And so I appeal as a chairman of the committee, and the committee appealed to the community that, well, they should understand that when you go to chop bar to eat, you must pay for it. And so if you have a meter on your wall and you're not paying for it, it's just there, then ECG will come for it and replace it with the proper meters for you. We're also told that there were some meters that are not, clearly they are fake meters that will not work. They just put it there. And this were fixed by some unscrupulous contractors or people who have not been registered by ECG. So they'll connect it, on the wall. And when you come, you think that they are proper meters, but they are fake meters. It has nothing to do with the political or SHEP meters or meters that have been given out. It is illegal. I mean, it is criminal for somebody to put fake meters that are not meters that will reach or be connected.
Very well. Finally, just before we let you go, what are you seeing as a trend in the performance of these power sector players from your engagements with them?
It is clear that we needed to go beyond just the power that we have now. We call it available generation, available power. Install capacity. We need to go beyond that. We should be able to produce power and for us to also export power. From our engagement with all the sectors, the agencies that we met so far, there's one thing clear, that our neighboring country around us need power. Now, we consume a lot of power for our both domestic and industrial use. But we needed to have more than what we consume to also export. If we do not do that, the other neighboring countries are also taking advantage of the fact that they must also begin to have their own generating plant. And that will affect us because we need the foreign exchange to be able to procure fuel and also gas for our engines and our generators. And so we needed to go beyond just install capacity. We needed to go beyond available capacity. We need to go beyond that and have excess capacity, which we can produce and sell. These countries are available. They are willing to buy from us. If you don't have that, a time will come when all our industries have sprung up and more houses are connected to the national grid, and we are not able to produce more, we'll have issues. So yes, I want to encourage especially the producers and the transmitters, gridco should do well to install more lines to be able to carry the energy that has been produced by all the producers. Finally.
Very well. Honorable, I'm afraid we'll have to end our conversation here. That's all we have time for, and I know you have a busy day ahead of you tomorrow, particularly because you're inspecting those energy plants in the eastern region. So thank you so much. Emmanuel Bejra is chairman of the Energy Committee of Parliament. He's also Whole West MP. We've just been having that conversation on the back of ECG's recent announcement regarding cancellation of contracts and tracking and finding the 1,000 containers with those cables in them. I mean, a lot of questions still need to be answered, and hopefully we will bring you those answers in later broadcasts, maybe here or maybe on other platforms. But I want you to take a seat, maybe even draw closer to your television set or radio. Coming up. Now, here's the thing. Your favorite food may be delicious, yes, but it also may be the reason you die. Stick with me. I'll explain. Tonight, the FDA is warning of high levels of heavy metals in some food and cosmetic products on the local market across all 16 regions. Lead, cadmium, and mercury were found in food items like Tom Brown. Bentonite clay, you may know it as ailo. Some consume, some use it for cosmetic products. Koli or coal or kaji, however you look at it, they say it contains high levels of lead. And also some skin lightening lotions and creams. Now, again, products like Koli, we are told, contain about 80% of lead in some cases. And in parts of the country like the Upper East region, they are seeing 100% contamination of all the coals, Koli, kaji in that area, the Upper East region. Now let's talk about a favorite health food, turmeric. That yellow substance, when it's unprocessed, it looks like a ginger. If you cut it, it looks orange or mustard yellow in it. Turmeric is also contaminated nearly half of the time with lead. And in places like the Greater Accra and Central regions where it's most consumed, that 42.9% is even 42.6%, excuse me, is even higher. Now let me put this into perspective. While this may be due in part to imports, we know that there is a bigger problem on our hands because this is the second report this week that is warning the Ghanaian people, that it's warning Ghanaian citizens and residents in this country about our poisoned food. The first one was the Pure S EPA report, which outlines the dire impact of illegal mining on food items and the soil itself. Now, over here at TV3, we have brought you report tested cassava, food items like cassava, and told you that indeed there were very alarming traces of these poisonous heavy metals in them. Now, tonight, I bring you some reprieve, maybe, because the Food and Agriculture Minister, Eric Opoku, is seriously concerned about these dangerous toxin levels. The minister told me in this soon-to-air Hot Issues episode that there are efforts to mitigate the impact. What are they? Let's take a listen.
If these toxic materials find their ways into the food that is produced, we are doing something that is inimical to the health of our population.
When you find the toxins in the soil, say you go to a place like Konongo where we are told that there are very, very high mercury in the soil, you find it there, then what next? What are you able to do for the farmers?
In fact, when you find it, it means that that soil must be treated.
Okay.
You have to reduce that thing in there. It is something that is polluting the soil.
Yeah.
So you get it out. You treat the soil.
But it will be challenging for you if we continue to mine with these.
It is. As for the illegal mining, it is not a matter of being a challenge to me as a minister or to me as a citizen of this country. It is a challenge to all of us as citizens of our country, because we are polluting the environment. We are destroying the land. We are destroying our water bodies. So what future are we bequeathing to the upcoming generation? Yes, we are blessed with the gold, but we have to use proper means to harvest so that we don't destroy the entire environment.
If it is as dire as we have just, enumerated, is that not the reason, why your government should immediately declare a state of emergency in these areas, these hotspots?
In fact, personally speaking, from my personal point of view, When you declare a state of emergency, you announce that I have declared a state of emergency. What next? Will that solve the problem immediately?
What do you think?
You know, that is just a statement. It must be followed with an action, a clear action, a clear pathway directed at arresting the situation. And that is what we are doing. So the last time the president engaged the media, he was very articulate, very frank on this matter, that efforts are underway. We have not exhausted our efforts, our opportunities to deal with the challenge. So let's confront the challenge, hold on, deal with the challenge. And then when at some stage we realize that we have done our best, but we are unable to contain it, then we go to that extent.
Eric Opoku is Nafo South MP. He's also Ghana's Food and Agri Minister. More of that interview this Sunday at 1:30 p.m. here on TV3. You want to make time to watch that as we discuss the future of your food safety. But right now, let's take that, what we've heard from the minister, Tuawula Sewa. She's anti-galamsey advocate and also with Eco-Conscious. And Edward Karewe, who is also director for policy and stakeholder engagement at Legal Entrepreneurial Support Hub, LESHub. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time tonight. I'll start with you because this is the point we've been trying to avoid this whole time, correct?
Well, I mean, we've reached a stage where if you don't take immediate action, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen. The writing has been on the wall. The writing has been on the wall. We've been warning that there was ongoing ecocide, that we faced an existential threat, and urgent action had to be taken. This was a few years ago. We've been at it for a very long time. What puzzles me is that I'm not quite sure what we are waiting for to take drastic action. Over 60% of our water bodies have been contaminated or poisoned, whatever. A number are still diverted as we speak. There are cobra and others. We had warned that the poison was entering our soil, and we have the evidence now. CAF has told us that the kidney disease cases has gone up 4 times. So frankly, we've reached I think the president himself said it was a national emergency. So what are we waiting for to take drastic action? Why can we not declare a targeted state of emergency, have boots on the ground, go to the areas, the hotspots, and remove the environmental criminals and their equipment? Because they have declared war on Ghana. Even in wartime, when you poison water, it's a war crime. So they've declared war on Ghana. They are poisoning us. And we seem not to understand that what is happening is criminal activity, and we need to stop it. They are poisoning everybody, including themselves. They are removing the means of livelihood from others, including the peasant farmers. About 2.5 million of them are at risk of losing their livelihood. And yet we seem to be only concerned about the criminals. I believe that the time has come to declare a targeted state of emergency and deal with this matter robustly and swiftly. The house is burning. We've been using buckets of water. The house is burning. We need to call in the fire service before the house burns completely.
Very well. I'm going to come back to you while I move on to Edward at this time. Mr. Karewe, the minister seems very concerned about the impact it's having on soil, the impact it's having on food items. But how does this come to you, first off? Edward, I can't hear you. I'll try again. How does this come to you, as far as this is concerned?
Well, good evening to my colleague and then to all of you and to those who are listening to us. I think that the situation, as we all are aware now, is in a deplorable state. It's in an advanced state that our usual measures that we use to deal with galamsey cannot be those same measures. We have to indeed apply and adopt measures that are appropriate to the challenges that we face today. And the cry from people is that the only measure to do is to declare a state of emergency. That will not be wrong, and even the government itself has agreed that yes, state of emergency is not out of the way. It's one of the measures. The only thing is that they are applying some measures as of today, and that if those measures do not work, then they will have no option than to apply the state of emergency. So,
so for you as farmers, Mr. Karewe, for you as farmers, are we making any progress with the efforts government is, with the efforts government has been putting in place or to action for some time now? Are you seeing any progress?
Well, if you look at it from a farmer's point of view alone, you may be underrating the issue because this is a national issue. So we also need to even look at it beyond the interest of farmers. Now, but if you limit it to farmers alone, you see that farmers' farmlands are completely devastated, and any other land that is available which we could use for agricultural purpose is already taken over by Galamsey. So you can see that if you look at peasant farmers, if you look at smallholder farmers, they are the most hit in the sense that even tree crop farms are devastated. Rubber trees are devastated, the cocoa trees are devastated, oil palm trees are devastated. So when you talk about cassava, maize, plantain, and the rest, it is easy to clear those farms. So it is a real threat to the livelihoods, first and foremost, for smallholder farmers who have no other source of livelihood but those their small farms and so on. So certainly it is a serious threat to the livelihood of smallholder farmers, first and foremost, before the entire country.
Very well, Awula. So, I mean, the government has given its reasons it cannot declare state of emergency at this time. Let's look at the alternative that is at play today. What other card can we play besides a state of emergency to ensure that we can see, significant and expansive progress in our bid to end illegal mining or unethical mining?
The political will is there. In the run-up to the elections, I keep on saying NDC stalwarts were lining up to say declare a state of emergency, declare a state of emergency. So the question is that, did they actually believe that a state of emergency was necessary, or were they only trying to embarrass the government? We have been consistent in saying that the situation we are in, water is life. Without water, we'll all perish. But we will not perish if we don't have gold. God has given us our forests reserves. He's given us our water bodies. The state of them is deplorable. We are being poisoned. There's ecocide. And we are dilly-dallying. We've just heard about the farmers, the peasant farmers, the fishermen, people with oil plantations, rubber plantations. Very soon, our cocoa will be rejected. So what are we going to depend on? Are we going to import all our foodstuffs? Even our contumely has high levels of mercury. So the point I'm making is that we are on the verge of an ecological catastrophe. So it sort of, I can't understand, I'm astonished as to why we cannot declare a targeted state of emergency. And it's not a question of just saying, I declare a state of emergency and going to sleep. We are asking for concrete steps to be taken. We want to use all the resources at our disposal to remove the criminals from our forest reserves, our water bodies, our farmlands. We need what they call boots on the ground. And we need to have a state of emergency so that you don't go through any hurdles in getting the resources you need to get rid of this cancer. It's not a joke, the situation we're facing. And if we keep on dilly-dallying, by the time we decide to call the fire service, I'm afraid it will be too late. Will it be when the 100% of our water bodies have been dried up, poisoned, diverted? Will it be when the number of kidney disease cases has gone up 100-fold? When will be the point at which we realize that other measures are not having the desired effect? We need to go all out, declare a targeted state of emergency, deal with this canker, and then look at how we can ensure that the terrorists don't return. You may have to have army personnel like before, based not too far from the forest reserve, so that if it's something the forestry officers cannot handle, they can quickly call on them to come in. There are so many other measures we can take to ensure that after we have driven out the criminals, they don't return. But right now, the focus should be on driving them out, on removing them from our water bodies, and the waters like the Ancombra that have been diverted to correct this before they dry out. We cannot continue dilly-dallying. We need to act decisively today.
Now, Mr. Gary, I just want to come to you on this, right? For a section of Ghanaians, it would appear that this issue of toxins in our food is far away because, of course, it's happening in certain areas. Help us understand, from a farmer point of view, the network of how the food items travel and how far they could get.
Well, it is clear that we, those in the cities and the towns, certainly do not produce their own food. And yet we are those who consume a lot of food and so on. From the scientific point of view, that this mercury and then the metals do not get away and they move from one agent to another. So, for instance, if you eat plantain, it will stay in the plantain, and then when the goat eats that plantain, then it will, the metals will be transferred to the goat, and when the goat is killed, and you, the human being, also eat it, then you now eat the metals, and they continue to be there, and when you die, then you will be buried, then the metals will remain in the soil, and then it will find its way into another thing. So certainly, the network is just wide. We are all aware that we want plantain, we want cassava, we want yams, we want all manner of things. And they come from the interior. And if you look at the southern part in particular, about 50% of the southern part's capacity to produce food, particularly the Galamsey areas, has been curtailed, has been taken away, because all the lands have been taken away. But then anything at all that grows on the soil is now contaminated. So certainly the network is so wide. It's so wide that no one should be safe again wherever you are found in Ghana, because you eat fish, you eat meat, you eat plantain. Even if you eat from a hotel, they also saw some of their food stuffs from the local market. So even the water, so there is nothing that can save anybody at all. So the point is just to deal with the matters decisively. Now, with the state of the emergency question, is that when you declare a state of emergency, it means that whole area becomes a security zone.
Indeed.
Now, when I hear, because it becomes a security zone at a particular time, so you cannot enter there. Now, I feel that
Edward, I'm afraid that's all the time I have for this story. But thank you so much for joining us tonight, Edward Kariwe and Awula Sewa. I appreciate your time with us. There'll be more of Awula Sewa tomorrow on Key Points. Stay with me. I'll give you the full list of panelists for Key Points tomorrow. In the meantime, Ghana Tonight to take a quick break. When we come back, you see that U.S. visa restrictions that has now been lifted on Ghana. We'll find out why. Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, after which that announcement of the reversal of the U.S. restriction was made. Let's take a look.
Honored to give the floor to His Excellency Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ghana. The floor is yours, sir.
I'm grateful to you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, today we gather to renew our commitment to a world without nuclear weapons. We in Ghana.
My intention, what you just saw is when he made that call there in the chamber for a renewal of commitment to disarmament. I want to talk about these issues quickly, and I'm joined by international relations expert Professor Lord Mauko Yevuga. Prof, it's good to see you again, and I know you've been waiting for us. I appreciate your patience. Let's start off with the renewal call for the world to commit to nuclear disarmament. How important was that call the foreign minister made?
Thank you, Kemini, and good evening to your viewers. I think it's an important call. I mean, this is something that has been on the global agenda, that we should eliminate nuclear proliferation. And Ghana taking a lead in that regard, even though we don't have nuclear of our own, is a good call that will create a more humane and a more stable international system. So it's good that Ghana is taking up that leadership role in that direction.
I see. And I mean, how far can this call go in actually yielding results?
Well, unfortunately, like anything else in global politics, it's not as simple and straightforward. It will take a lot of work to convince all countries that have nuclear weapons to give them up. And that is the challenge, because on the one hand, you have the powerful countries, United States, you have China, you have UK, you have France, you have Germany, all these Israel, all these countries are having nuclear weapons. Then you are trying to stop others from either acquiring it or to give it up. And other leaders have seen what had happened to Iraq under Saddam Hussein, to Libya under Gaddafi, after they were convinced to give up their nuclear. And we also what happened to Gaddafi, for example. So it's a tricky situation. On the one hand, ideally, we should all be talking about eliminating nuclear, but we all know the incentives that countries have to build one for self-protection, as North Korea, for example, is doing currently.
I see. And then, away from the conversation around nuclear disarmament, we know that when the Israeli Prime Minister was to address the assembly, there was some walkout. What does that say about the world's position? Can you hear me? I'm referring to the walkout we saw.
Yes.
When the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was addressing the assembly. What does that signify?
It signifies that the world is horrified. It signifies that the world is united in its condemnation of the genocidal activities taking place in Gaza. I think it's a protest against the Israeli government. And I'm happy that the whole world saw it, and the walkout and then the protest that greeted the Israeli Prime Minister. For a long time, I think the world has been pampering Netanyahu and Israeli government for a long time because of the victimhood that they've played all these years. And I think the world has come to this realization that you can't continue to pamper them when they are killing innocent people, punishing them for collective crime that they didn't commit. So I think it was a good, a loud statement by the rest of the world to Israel and its allies that what is happening, we cannot tolerate that in a more civilized international system.
And beyond the walkout, what must be done now to rein the situation in Gaza in?
Well, already Donald Trump signaled today that there's a deal in the making towards the release of the remaining hostages and also for permanent ceasefire. Let's hope that this is not one of those things that they say and nothing happens. Israel continues to kill innocent people, and they are using the hostages as an excuse to do that. So if Donald Trump wants to show global leadership, then they have to pile more pressure on Israel to agree to a peace deal. Then we can all have a stable environment in the Middle East, and we can stop the killings.
And I would have loved for us to go into, dig further into that, whether or not we are going to see an actual action to back those words that we're hearing. We won't go into that tonight. But I do want us to look at the reversal of the U.S. visa restrictions on Ghana. And Prof, we have been asking for a while now what Ghana is getting in that MOU with the U.S. to accept their deportees. Could this be it?
It's possibly, it's highly possible, but it's very speculative. But yes, we have every right to inquire from the government to come clean, because the timing couldn't have been so coincidental. On the one hand, we had this deal of deportees coming to Ghana without parliamentary scrutiny, and it just came to light through the presidential media engagement. Then all of a sudden, we saw the reversal of this visa restriction. So the coincidence couldn't have been like this. The timing couldn't have been coincidental. So one would have thought that the government would be forthcoming. What went into the decision? So on the one hand, it's good relief for Ghanaian citizens who would have suffered under the restrictions. But on the other hand, for the sake of transparency, we need to have more information from the government.
I mean, assuming, Prof, that really is indeed the exchange, that trade-off, would you say it was worth it?
Well, it depends on where you start. If you think about citizens who would have suffered greatly because of the visa restrictions, and now that they are going to reverse that, there's a welcome relief to such people. On the other hand, the issues that have been raised concerning transparency in the deal to bring the deportees, those issues will not go away just because of this reversal of the visa restrictions. So it will be in the interest of the government to come clean, to know what is in that deal, and whether there's a quid pro quo kind of arrangement that allow Ghana to take the refugee deportees, then in exchange for the restriction being lifted. I think that the government will do itself a lot of good if they are forthcoming with what went into the deal, so that we can all rest assured that there's nothing being hidden from the general public.
Very well. Prof, I appreciate your time with us. Thank you so much. I'll connect now with our correspondent who's been following the UN General Assembly in New York, Komla Kluche. Let's try him one more time. Komla, again, I appreciate what you're doing tonight for us. You've been up and waiting for us to get to this point. Komla, let's talk about what it's been like this whole week. Ghana, Africa has been doing big things. In the last few hours, what have we missed? Well, it would seem that Komla cannot hear us. Komla, I apologize for that. I'm not sure why you can't hear us. I'll try one more time. I'm asking that you've been covering the events the last, throughout the week. Ghana, African countries have been doing great things. What have we missed in the last few hours? Oh, Komla still can't hear me. But gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Komla, I am so sorry. We'll do this again another time. I am Kemini Amanor. Remember that tomorrow, 7 a.m., Alfred Okanse will be here with his panelists to discuss the week's biggest stories. And, I'm starting to think that the news of the last hour will be there as well. The reversal of U.S. visa restrictions on the country as against the very, very coincidental period of the deportation agreement with the U.S. as well. So make a date. Full list of panel members there on your screen at the moment. On Sunday, here's what you should keep in mind, that Hot Issues is no longer at 2 p.m. on Sundays. It is now at 1:30 p.m. So at 1:30, join me as I quiz the Greek minister on a number of issues, including your food security, your food safety, and then also whether or not the agriculture at its state where we expect it to be as a central point of the 24-hour economy is on course. Make time to watch Hot Issues, 2 p.m. 1:30 p.m. on Sunday. I'm Kemini Amanor. Bye-bye.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
Sasso insecticide spray and coil.